Good morning. I'm really pleased to be here. I'm Smruti Naik-Jones, as you said, and I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer at Deloitte, and I cover UK, parts of Europe and the Middle East as well. And this morning, I'm going to be able to share with you our latest 2024 CXO Sustainability Report. And you're getting this a couple of hours before it's formally released, so I'm really happy that I'm able to give you a bit of a preview of some of the key insights that are coming out of that. I'll also talk a little bit about what we're doing in Deloitte ourselves in terms of our own sustainability journey. And then I'll come back to the report in terms of some of the key recommendations for leaders that I'm sure a number of you will be wanting to look at. But actually, I'm also really interested in some of the things that I could be doing as a CSO over the next 12 months or so. So before I go into our CXO survey findings, I did want to ask the room a question, which is, how many of you believe that corporates have increase their climate action and investments over the last year? Okay. And how many of you think the opposite, that actually there's been a deferring or a decreasing of investments over the last year? Okay, so we've got a pretty optimistic crowd here today, which I'm really pleased to see. And actually, that's really consistent with some of the things that we're hearing from CXOs. So we interviewed around 2,100 executives across the globe, across 27 organizations in a number of different sectors. And what they're saying is, contrary to some of the headlines that we've been seeing, actually, there is no retreat from sustainability action. In fact, a number of the leaders we were talking to, around sort of 85%, still really believe that sustainability action is key. And a number of them, as you can see on the screen, are putting that in their top 3 areas of issues that they're focused on. And that's really consistent with what we've seen over the last 3 years. And again, it is ahead of some things like political uncertainty or the competition for talent or supply chain challenges. In fact, it's alongside innovation and economic outlook that they believe that it continues to be of importance. And they're following that up with investment. So we've heard that 85% have increased their investment in sustainable action over the last year. And that is a 10% increase from last year. And again, that's just showing that the momentum is there, and we're seeing that coming through. We're also hearing that 70% expect that climate action and sustainability will continue to impact their strategies and operations. And in fact, they're looking to embed that further. And as a result, we know that a number around 42 expect that to increase over the next couple of years. And importantly, 92% believe that actually they can grow their business at the same time as reducing their greenhouse gas emissions. And 90% are also saying that actually they believe that the world can continue to grow economically, as well as meet our climate change ambitions and goals. And that's a huge shift that we're seeing in terms of some of the sentiment. And a number are saying that they're following that through. So 45% are saying, actually, now we are looking at sustainability. We know that we need to embed that within our operations and within our strategies. And actually, what we are also hearing is that there is no longer this trade-off conversation that is occurring, that CXOs are really seeing this as having, climate action as having both environmental benefits, but actual tangible business benefits. And we're seeing that in some of the points that they're making around what what business benefits they're seeing, they're much harder than the ones that we've heard in the past, which might have been more focused on compliance or brand. We're hearing a lot more around improvement in customer loyalty, or the fact that it has really injected supply chain efficiencies or improved their operating margins. So again, much more, again, into the heart of their businesses. And what they're also starting to tell us is that 50% are investing right now in technology that supports their sustainability and climate action, and they'll continue to do that. And we're seeing many more, around 42%, that will continue to do that over the next few years. And importantly, that investment that they're making, they're not just doing that again around for compliance reasons. They're using the technology to develop and drive new solutions, new sustainable solutions, and really using that to change their business models as well. So just sort of a recap, sustainability action is growing. We're seeing an increase in investment from the folks that we talk to, the executives that we talk to. There is no longer that trade-off conversation that we're hearing. In fact, executives are starting to see that there's a shift, that the low emissions economy is proving, and they're seeing some tangible business potential in terms of doing that. And actually, that is through the development of new products and solutions, and that's getting further kind of amplified with their technology investments that they're making. And they're using that technology investment, again, to drive new products and services. But again, just a bit of realism, we are seeing that uneven landscape. So it isn't just a blanket rosy picture across all organisations. We do have some of the leading organisations that we're talking to, around 17%, who are really making some of those critical, hard changes and really embedding sustainability as part of their strategy. But we're also hearing that even though there are a number of organisations that see climate change as a key issue and a key topic, and they know it's coming, around 27% have made little or no kind of tangible or material movement towards action. So that might sound a little bit disheartening, but we actually believe that the 27% are going to start to be at a disadvantage, and that's partly because of this moderate middle. They're around 56%. They've started to make action. They're moving forward. They're starting to dip their toe into some of those real hard to change areas, and they're starting to think about embedding this within their strategy. And importantly, what we're seeing is that those organisations have the real potential to go deeper and broader in terms of their action. And when they do that, they're the ones that will really tip the change towards that greater acceleration that we're all going to need as part of that. Interestingly, that moderate middle are really sort of kind of divided into two areas. There are some that are really thinking about the business of sustainability. So what can we do to meet the increasing demands of this new low carbon economy? But we're also seeing others who are really thinking about how can we be a sustainable business, and what do we need to do, and how do we start to get the wheels in motion, not only within ourselves, but across our wider ecosystem, working with our suppliers and working with society more broadly. So with that, I've talked quite a lot about what other CXOs and other businesses are doing, but what are we focused on as Deloitte? And that's really kind of in my area as Chief Sustainability Officer. So our sustainability transformation galvanized around something that we've called World Climate, and that's really around it's underpinned with a number of science-led targets and commitments that we're working towards. But we know in order for us to really deliver on our ambition, we're going to have to think innovatively and start to transform how we work and really put sustainability at the heart of our business. And just to give you an example of give you a sense of the reach that I'm responsible for. So as I mentioned, I cover UK, parts of Europe and the Middle East. That covers over 75,000 people over 30 countries. So really, we've been able to focus our strategy around 3 core areas. And I'm just going to give you a couple of examples, recent examples of what we've done there. So particularly a focus has been on our operational transformation. Won't be a surprise to you, it's probably where most organisations are at. And like I said, to give you a recent example, we've just moved into the Halo office in Manchester, which is the most sustainable building outside of London in the UK. And we've put that alongside our sustainable head office, which is in 1 New Street Square in London and down the road. But we're also doing a number of initiatives across Europe. So within the Netherlands, we are starting and have moved our real estate footprint so that we're 80% gas-free. Within our Danish practice, we're looking at environmental efficiencies within our buildings. Within Belgium and the UK, we're moving our car fleet to EV only and have done that over the last few years. But really, we are a people-based business. So the important part of our strategy is really empowering our people. And again, to give you an example, in Ireland and in Switzerland, we've been using tools like Geeky, as well as other employee engagement initiatives to understand how we can really drive change. And we've started to track that quite closely. And what we've noticed is that we've been able to make some real emission reduction results as part of that. But also we've managed to reduce our water usage. And that's because we've been able to galvanise that collective action. And we're looking to do more of that over the next year as well. The other piece that we've done is globally, we've rolled out mandatory climate and sustainability training. And as a result of that, our Middle East colleagues are telling us, or 80% of them are telling us, that they now feel empowered to make responsible climate choices. And I'll talk in a little bit about sustainable delivery and what we're really planning around that to kind of encourage and empower our people further. The final sort of area, or the third pillar that we're really looking at, is partnering, and that is big and small. So just to give you an example, in Greece, we're partnering with a local not-for-profit organisation and working with them with some of those remote islands to turn those into sustainable destinations and what we can do from that. To the big, we are a global alliance partner of the Earthshot Prize, and we're very proud to partner with the Earthshot Prize, particularly as we're helping them to find and scale the Earthshot finalist solutions and innovations as they come to market. And that's from anything from seaweed that could take over from plastic, to carbon capture technology, to regenerative agricultural practices. And actually, we are taking that step further, where we're now investing directly in a number of those Earthshot finalists to really help them inject and scale their solutions and help them take those to market as well. So we've been on quite a journey from 2022 when we launched our World Climate Strategy. But actually, we know that this is the start. There's still a long way to go. But we are building and maintaining the momentum that we have started to drive. And we are proud of the progress that we've made to date, but we know that that's only part and parcel of what we need to do as we look forward. And it's that piece as we look forward that I'm just going to talk through. That's really about how we're putting sustainability much more into how we're doing business, as well as the operations that I talked about, and as well as some of those engagement and partnerships, as I mentioned. As I said, we are a people business, and therefore actually the movement of our people is a significant part of our Scope 3 emissions. And in order to change behaviour, that's going to take a lot of work on our part, not only with our people and our leaders, but actually working collaboratively and together with our clients as well. And as a result, we've been developing a concept around sustainable delivery, and that's really about making it much more the default way of working rather than kind of a new concept or a new initiative. And again, just to give you a couple of examples of how we're doing that, we're really challenging ourselves to reimagine what that would mean. So rethinking how we do business. And that could be in terms of, how do we use behavioural sciences? How do we use some of the latest thinking to inspire, storytell around and support our people through learning tools? We're also doing it through introducing a sustainable delivery clause as well. And I'll talk a little bit about why that is important. But we're also enabling both our people, but also our clients through some practical tools and assets, from things like a travel emissions calculator to how do you talk about this confidently, to a sustainable delivery framework that we can actually walk through with our clients at the same time. And I said I'd mention the sustainable delivery clause. The reason why that is really important to us is it signals to the market that sustainability is important and we are going to change the way that we do business. And actually, we want this to be a conversation and a dialogue with our clients, so not something that we're doing in isolation, but really in partnership. And at times, that may mean that we're going to have to challenge traditional ways of working. And what we mean by that is, as we look at sustainable options, that might mean that a project that we may have delivered in person might be digital only. It may also mean that we leave those in-person touch points to those moments, as we call, that really matter. And when we do that, we're thinking much more about, well, what are our sustainable options and how do we do that, rather than just defaulting to the ways that we've always done it before. And I've talked quite a lot about this, but I did want to share with you what our people within our practice are saying as well.
We're the largest professional services firm in the world, and I think that we have a moral obligation in order to lead the charge in what sustainable futures mean for us, for our planet, and for society more broadly.
To be on the journey with our clients and help our clients achieve their ambitious goals, we have to be an authentic partner.
So Clause 0 is our statement to deliver work more sustainably.
It is our first step in the system change, where we come together with our client and we discuss with them what are the solutions that we can implement to reduce our emissions.
Sustainability is made up of a lot of actions that we all make on an everyday basis. You have the power.
And I think that, as Matt said, we do have the power, and it is those sustainable actions that will really help us collectively drive that change. So, what could you do next? What am I thinking about doing next? And what are our recommendations, having talked to a number of our CXO executives over the last few months? Build on the key strengths is one that continues to come through. So, build on those near-term, impactful actions and solutions that you may have already started, but continue to do that and use that as the foundation to build on. Some of the examples that I talked you through in terms of what we're doing as Deloitte, they're pilots. We're looking to really phase a number of initiatives. We're looking at cascading sustainable delivery across our region. Again, we're using the platform to really build on some of your key strengths and what has worked well within your organisation. The other piece that we heard from the CXOs, but also I've been reflecting on personally, is we really need to take a look at and start to consider the full set of pathways that are open to us in terms of creating an impact. I think at times we can almost be our own worst enemies in thinking that our scope and our influence or our impact is quite narrow. So regardless if you're big or small, we know that, the ripple effect that we can have can be quite big. And don't underestimate that, because often we are waiting for permission, but actually there may be more freedom than you think in order to be able to do that. So don't underestimate the level of sustainable impact that you can have just by expanding and looking a bit further than maybe you have. And collaboration is a key. I know a number of the other speakers that have been on have talked about this as well, but we can't do this by ourselves. I mean, I think on a daily basis that if it was left to me, and not because I'm not good at my job, but it is just too big for us individually as businesses, as corporates, to do this by ourselves. So how do we collaborate not only within our own organisations, but actually beyond the four walls of our organisation? So how are you working with your customers or your clients? How are you working with your suppliers or collaborating with them in innovative ways? What are you doing with policymakers or regulators? What are you doing within your own sector? And is there an opportunity to work with your peers to really amplify that sustainable impact that we, frankly, are all going to be reliant on? And then the final recommendation is, and I know I've fallen into this trap as well, is at times it feels like the case that we're making it can be one-dimensional. So how do we really explore that full range of benefits to make that business case? We heard from the executives who are saying, actually, they are now realizing that there's a dual benefit, that you can have an environmental and a business benefit. So how are we really thinking about that? And how can we make sure that we're helping and extending that internally within our own organizations, but actually, as we talk, as we say, that shadow is long. So how do we continue to influence those that we connect and touch with as well? If you are interested in the report outputs, as well as the recommendations I just talked about, the report will be available, as I said, in a few hours on our website, and the website is there, so it's deloitte.com/CXO report. But as I sort of close up, I've just got a couple of sort of final points. I think actually this is a time to feel pretty optimistic. I mean, I looked at the report and I actually felt quite buoyed, quite confident at the level of engagement that we're seeing from CXOs. And as we said, there wasn't really that sense of retreating action. And in fact, there was much more proactiveness that we're starting to see, much more investment, as we heard as well. And there's a lot in there for us to take into our own organizations and use as well. But actually, they've started to indicate that there might be a change. And that change might be the fact that the penny is starting to drop, that this isn't a trade-off, that you don't need to have either or. You can have it have both. You can have environmental benefits and business benefits. And actually, more so, we're starting to see that there may be a profound opportunity here, both in terms of making that real change that we need around climate, but also from a business perspective as well. Thank you.